By the summer of 1942, Nazi Germany has overrun Poland, crushed France, and driven deep into the Soviet Union. To continue the war, Hitler needs the oil fields of the Caucasus. The path to that oil runs through a city on the Volga River. Stalingrad holds strategic value as a transport hub, but for Hitler, the name alone makes its capture a personal obsession. He intends to take the city named after his rival. In August, the German Sixth Army begins its assault. This force includes 270,000 elite soldiers, 500 tanks, and 3,000 artillery pieces, supported by the highest concentration of aircraft in the Luftwaffe. The opening air bombardment kills 40,000 civilians. Before the German infantry even reaches the outskirts, the city is already a shell of shattered brick and burning wood. One German pilot recorded the scene in his diary, writing, "The city below us was on fire from end to end. I thought, nothing can survive down there. Nothing human." The ruins created a landscape of jagged concrete and twisted steel. This pulverized terrain favored the defender, providing thousands of hidden positions that negated the speed and mobility of German tanks. General Vasily Chuikov, commander of the Soviet 62nd Army, recognizes this advantage. He orders his men to hug the enemy. By keeping Soviet lines within meters of the Germans, Chuikov ensures that German aircraft and heavy artillery cannot strike without hitting their own troops. The battle becomes a series of isolated fights for individual basements and rooms. The Germans call this Rotten Creek, Rat War. The momentum of the Blitzkrieg vanishes in the rubble. A single apartment building, known as Pavlov House, is held by a handful of Soviet soldiers for 58 days against repeated German assaults. Every meter of progress costs the Sixth Army heavily. As they push deeper into the city ruins, their flanks stretch thin for hundreds of kilometers along the river. These vulnerable lines are held not by elite German units, but by Romanian and Italian allies. The German command remains focused on capturing the last few blocks of the city center. While they bleed their core units dry in street-to-street fighting, they ignore the growing exposure of their long northern and southern flanks. 800 kilometers away in Moscow, General Georgy Zhukov observes this fixation. He sees the German Sixth Army is effectively anchored in the ruins, unable to maneuver or react to a threat from outside. Zhukov plans Operation Uranus. He intends to bypass the city center entirely and strike the weak Allied divisions to the north and south, cutting the German army off from its rear. Across the autumn of 1942, the Soviets quietly mass 1 million men and 900 tanks. They move only at night under strict radio silence. German intelligence fails to detect the buildup, believing the Soviets have no significant reserves left. On November 19th, the trap is sprung. 3,000 Soviet guns open fire simultaneously on the northern flank. The Romanian lines collapse within hours under the weight of the bombardment. A second Soviet spearhead strikes from the south the following day. On November 23rd, the two armored columns meet at the town of Kalok. The Sixth Army is now completely surrounded. Zhukov used the German obsession with the city as an anchor. By keeping the Sixth Army occupied in the ruins, he was able to pivot his forces around them, trapping 300,000 men in a pocket they could not escape. Inside the pocket, Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus requests permission to break out. Hitler refuses. He orders the Sixth Army to stand its ground, falsely believing the Luftwaffe can fly in enough food and fuel to sustain the trapped soldiers. Temperatures drop to minus 30 degrees Celsius. The promised supplies never arrive in sufficient quantities. Soldiers begin to starve, and frostbite claims thousands of limbs as the Soviet ring slowly tightens around the ruins. Letters recovered from the pocket revealed the collapse of morale. One German soldier wrote, "I am not the same man who left you at the station. I don't know what I believe in anymore, only that I am cold, and I am sorry." Paulus surrenders on January 31st, 1943. Of the roughly 91,000 soldiers who survived the encirclement to be taken prisoner, only 6,000 will ever return to Germany. The 5-month battle resulted in nearly 2 million casualties. It is the deadliest single battle in the history of human warfare. Stalingrad ended the myth of German invincibility. From this point forward, the Wehrmacht would never again launch a major strategic offensive on the Eastern Front. The momentum of the war had shifted permanently.